Haha! Here we are. 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 Evening, 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 all everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bit of an interesting live stream for you today. Unfortunately, no Geoscope tonight, but I thought instead we would have a bit of a council stream watch. Yeah, this is honestly, as someone shouted out from the gallery, a sad day for Warwickshire. Genuinely, a very sad day for Warwickshire indeed. When you elect a 19-year-old with no experience in running a council, even in a cabinet position, running a multi-million-pound budget, no idea of how any of this stuff works, to a point where he is also trying to get a political advisor elected as well. Because according to him, these people in the council corporate policy office just aren't imaginative enough to come up with ideas. And you're like, at that point, what is the point of being a councillor? That is what you are meant to do. You are the one, Councillor Finch, who's meant to be the one coming up with creative ideas. So we're going to watch this, how this happened. We're going to watch how this happened because I think it's a lesson in local politics and how voting works. And yeah, we're also going to go through this as well because, yeah, this is how this happened. So don't worry, we will be getting to that because that is a function of the Constitution that these councils are operating under. So don't worry, we will get to that and we will explain what happened on that. But before, of course, we do get into this, one second. There we go. Before we do get into this, welcome, 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 everyone. I hope you're all having a very fun evening. It's about to get a bit more interesting. So, Dave W., good evening to you. Vince, good evening to you. Leo Sapien, good evening to you. Yvonne, good evening to you. And like I say, good evening to everyone else joining us in the chat. It is going to be an interesting watch for sure. Yeah, I feel sorry for. I should feel sorry for, but these people actually voted for these people in the first place. Again, you know, two things I really need to clarify. You have to remember, most of the people who could have voted could have stopped this. They could have stopped reform. In every one of these 10 councils, they could have stopped this. If you have a look at the people who did not vote, which in some cases was well over 70% of people in these last local council elections did not vote, which unfortunately is pretty standard in these local council elections. If those people had gotten out to vote, they would have stopped this. There is no way reform would have won. Why? Because this all goes back, as we've said before, back to the UKIP days. Nigel Farage is good at one thing, and that is he is very, very good at getting his voter base out to vote. He can motivate people out to vote absolutely instantly. Very, very instantly. Very, very quickly. There is no other party that can motivate their voter base better than Nigel Farage has, going from UKIP to the Brexit Party all the way to reform. He did it in the European Council elections because he realized so few people vote. If you can get a good base of people motivated, you can get them out, you can vote, and you can get in on a really, really slim majority. And that is what happened once again here at these local elections. That is what he has done again. Now, the other thing I also want to address is this 19-year-old. Now, it is not unusual for a young person to be nominated to run for a council role. You need to get that done. Right? You need to get that done. You need to get on board. And you can, you can run for the council. Now, what would normally happen is that these young people would probably not be given a position of prominence. Maybe they might be given a committee position, but they might be shepherded, looked after, brought into the fold, shown how things work by a more older, more senior councillor who can tell you, okay, this is how things work. Right? That is what would normally happen. No other party would put a 19-year-old in to run a multi-million-pound council. No sane party would put another 19-year-old into running child services, and no sane council would put a 22-year-old in charge of running adult services, particularly when you've had zero experience in running that type of area. Right? This is insane. This is where things could go wrong very, very quickly. But I guarantee you, behind the scenes, I guarantee you, and it wouldn't surprise me if this comes out in the fullness of time, I guarantee you, somehow, somewhere, Reform UK has hired someone to be this guy's political minder. They might be in the shadows. You might never see them, but I guarantee you in the fullness of time, it will come out that the Reform UK had hired a person to sort of coach this person from behind the scenes and tell them what to do, tell them what to say. Guarantee you. So, with that said, let us get on into this. 1 second, let me just make sure I've got the sound on, because I can't remember if I put the sound on. Yep, there we are. So hold on to your hats, folks. This is going to be an interesting one. So there's a couple rounds of voting, as you can see. But we'll start this off. Like I say, we're not going to go.
Just bring things back to order. I'm going to hand over to the Chief Executive now for round 2 of the leadership voting.
Okay, so can I just check that the remaining candidates, Roothouse, Warwick and Finch, are happy to continue as candidates? And I'm applying a recorded vote, assuming that the previous request was for all rounds. Okay.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is local politics.
Okay, so the same approach again. I call your name and you tell me the name of the candidate who you wish to vote for, or if you wish to abstain. Aikenhead.
Councillor Finch.
Alban.
Councillor Roothouse.
Bannister.
Finch.
Barker.
Councillor Warwick.
Bode.
Councillor Roothouse.
Bridgewater.
Councillor Finch.
Briggs.
Councillor Finch.
Brown.
Councillor Roothouse.
Cameron.
Finch.
Carvel.
Councillor Finch.
Cheshire.
Councillor Finch.
Chilvers.
Councillor Roodhouse.
Cooper,
I'd also like to point out, if you are in Warwickshire and you do end up watching this, by the way, you should remember all these people who voted for this kid. When things start to go wrong, and they will start to go wrong sooner or later, it is inevitable when you do this type of stuff. You should remember these people's names, and you should remember what they did at the next local council election. And I also think the Conservatives, I don't know what their game was. They could have voted for another candidate and made sure this guy didn't get in. They could have done that. They could have done that, but they chose to abstain. Now, either A, they've done so because they know things are going to go wrong, and they want things to go wrong for reform. That is why they abstained. Or a deal was done behind the scenes by these Conservatives to abstain because they probably didn't want to be seen voting publicly for the for the reform candidate. So they said, well, we're going to abstain. One of those two things is true. We don't know which one it is. Only that Conservative grouping can speak out on that. And maybe that will come out in the fullness of time as well. But for the time being, Warwickshire now has a
Councillor Finch.
19-year-old in charge.
Coucher,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Crocker,
Finch.
Crump,
Councillor Warwick.
Curtis,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Damash, Dixon,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Drew,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Edwards,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Yeah.
Falp,
Very true,
Absent.
Craig. We
Feeney,
respect democracy no matter how
Reedhouse.
stupid the results.
Finch,
Councillor Finch.
Garland,
Councillor Finch.
Gisborne,
Councillor Finch.
Glover,
Councillor Finch.
Golby,
Councillor Finch.
Green,
Councillor George Finch.
Grocott,
Councillor Roodhouse.
All these reform
Harris.
people have to be hoping that this
Councillor
kid does a
Finch.
good job.
Holland,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Like,
Howard,
all these reform people
Councillor
have to be
Finch.
hoping he does a good job. Otherwise,
Jones,
that's their political
Councillor
career's
Roodhouse.
over.
Caradia,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Keeling,
Warwick.
Kettle,
Warwick.
Condacor,
Councillor Jerry Roodhouse.
Langer,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Matetsky,
Councillor Warwick.
McAllister,
It is likely that
Councillor
the reason
Roodhouse.
why you are seeing that is that some of those
Mills.
reform
Councillor
people
Warwick.
are voting for people who are absent, and they
Morris.
have the right to vote.
Councillor
in their
Finch.
stead.
Pym,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Richards,
Councillor Warwick.
Roberts,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Rolfe,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Roodhouse, Scott,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Shaw,
Councillor Finch.
Shingler,
Councillor Finch.
Sonko,
Councillor Finch.
Stevens,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Wayne,
Councillor George Finch.
Warren,
Councillor Finch.
Warwick.
Councillor Warwick.
So now they're tabulating the results. Like I say, this
Okay,
is the
councillors, at the end of that
second
round,
round.
there is no overall majority. The votes are Roodhouse 23, Finch 23, and Warwick 9. So at the end of that round, Councillor Warwick is eliminated and we will have another voting round.
So there you go, round 2.
At this point, there will be an adjournment for a further 10 minutes for the leaders to speak with each other if they so require. May I ask everybody be promptly back in the room in 10 minutes, please?
Oh, there we go. I'm so glad it jumped there. So what's this? Councillor Jones did a brilliant speech. If you know where that is, you'll have to tell me in the recording, and I'll look it up.
We're back in order again, and we'll be doing round 3 of the voting. So I shall be passing over to the Chief Executive to continue.
Round 3. Remember, this went 4 rounds, so we've still got another one to
Again,
go.
can I confirm that councillors Roodhouse and Finch are content to remain as candidates? Okay.
So I believe the other candidate was the Lib Dem candidate.
So Aikenhead,
Councillor Finch.
Alban,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Bannister,
Councillor Finch.
Barker,
Abstain.
Ah,
Bode,
Councillor Roothouse.
Bridgewater,
Councillor
I don't
Finch.
know what party she's from, but she might be the Conservative. This is where they might start to abstain.
Briggs,
Councillor Finch.
Brown,
Councillor Roothouse.
Cameron,
Finch.
Carvel,
Councillor Finch.
Cheshire,
Councillor Finch.
Chilvers,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Cooper,
Councillor Finch.
Coucher,
Councillor Roothouse.
Crocker,
Finch.
Crump,
Abstain.
There we go.
Curtis,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Yep. Thank you very much, Vince. Yes, the
Damash.
candidate was eliminated.
Abstain.
They've all chosen. So all these Conservatives are choosing
Dixon.
to abstain,
Councillor Roodhouse.
which
Drew.
is going to lead it
Councillor
into a
Roodhouse.
tied vote, which will
Edwards.
explain why the
Councillor
reform will in a
Roodhouse.
moment when you see it.
Feeney,
Councillor Roothouse.
Finch,
Councillor Finch.
Garland,
Councillor Finch.
Gisborne,
Councillor Finch.
Glover,
Councillor Finch.
Golby,
Councillor George Finch.
Green,
Councillor George Finch.
Grocott,
Councillor Jerry Roodhouse.
Also, this will be much quicker
Harris.
if they could do a
Councillor Finch.
just press a button.
Holland,
But
Councillor Roothouse.
this is
Howard.
sometimes our
Councillor
very
Finch.
anachronistic system in
Jones.
play because people will not let the vote
Councillor Roothouse.
change or change the agenda, so they have to do this.
Caradia, Keeling, Kettle,
Abstain.
Yeah,
Condacor,
I don't know what the
Councillor
Conservative
Jerry
game is here.
Roodhouse.
Either they have
Langer,
basically
Jerry
thought, right,
Roodhouse.
if this king gets in, it's all going to go wrong for
Witecki.
them. So
Abstain.
we are just going to abstain and let him
McAllister,
mess things up.
Councillor
massively.
Roodhouse.
Or there has been a
Mills.
deal done behind the scenes for them to abstain.
Abstain.
It's one of those two.
Morris,
Councillor Finch.
Pym,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Richards,
Abstain.
Roberts,
Councillor Roothouse.
Rolfe,
Councillor Roothouse.
Roothouse, Scott,
Councillor Roothouse.
Shaw,
Councillor Finch.
Shingler,
Councillor Finch.
Sonko,
Councillor Finch.
Stevens,
Councillor Roodhouse.
Wayne,
Councillor George Finch.
Warren,
Councillor Finch.
Warwick.
Abstain.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a tied vote of 23 Roothouse, 23 Finch, 9 abstentions. Therefore, the chairman's casting vote will apply. Chairman.
May I say something before I make this vote?
There we go. Better. Yeah, forgot I was muted. Thank you very much there. So, let's explain to you what is about to happen. So, with, of course, the Conservatives now abstaining. And remember, they could have stopped this. They could have stopped this. And I want to repeat, 2 things are true. Either A, they have done a deal behind the scenes so that they would abstain, or they have decided, right, we are going to let this kid go through and let him just absolutely mess things up, which in the long run might be good for them. And let's face it, things will go wrong. Trust me, things will go wrong at this council. Now this kid is in charge, every single media outlet out there will be focusing laser-like on Warwickshire Council. Make no mistake. Make absolutely no mistake. So because they have abstained, what happens now in a tied vote, the chair gets to make the decision. Now, you obviously know Reform won, or this 19-year-old Reform candidate won. That is because the chair of this meeting, guess what? Surprise, surprise, is a Reform candidate. Who do you think he's going to vote for? Bear in mind, I've already spoiled the outcome for you. So let's hear what he has to say in regards to this tied vote, because he's about to say something to justify why he is voting this way.
I'm disappointed and excited at the same time. I don't think this has happened very often in the history of this hall. And it falls on my shoulders to decide what's going on in the future of Warwickshire County Council. It's not something I take lightly at all. And it's something I would rather not have happened. But here we are. A decision must be made, and it's an incredibly difficult decision, surprisingly. But I shall vote for Councillor Finch.
Very difficult decision. Very difficult decision.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor George Finch is duly elected.
And of course, you just heard there shouts from the gallery. Sad day for Warwickshire. Sad day for Warwickshire. I would love to know this guy expand more on this fact. Why it was both as sad and disappointing. What was sad and disappointing? I don't understand that. Was he not going to expand on that? Was he expecting like all these parties to like fall into line? Was he disappointed that the Conservatives abstained? Yeah, exactly. Not sure why it's so difficult for the chair. Exactly. What's my thoughts exactly, Vince? My thoughts exactly. You know, why is it suddenly so difficult? It doesn't make any sense. You're going to elect a 19-year-old in charge of a multi-million-pound council. I know for one, and I don't think there would be anyone in chat, quite frankly, in their right mind, if this came down to a tied vote and you were the chair, why on earth would you put a 19-year-old in charge of this council? A multi-million-pound council. We can only hope. We can only hope, Chris. As soon as Trump falls, it's not too far away. So does Farage. We can only hope. We can only hope on that one. And exactly, Yvonne, this is right. The only good thing is that finally people can now see how useless reform are in any form of power. Exactly. Exactly. That is probably the only good thing, the silver lining to this. Exactly. Yeah, he has to follow the party line. But what does he mean by, oh, it's so disappointing? That's the thing, Vince. I'm interested to know what does he mean by, oh, it was so disappointing? You know, what does he mean by that? Oh, it was so disappointing. If only this could have been another Cornwall situation where the independents and the Lib Dems got together and just went, you know what? We're not going to allow you to control this council. Alas, this is on the Conservatives. Whether they have done this purely because there's been some, backroom deal done, or they have basically decided we are going to abstain because we want to see just the chaos and disaster unfold. We'll see. Yeah, the possibility that, of course, the Tories would vote Finch when the guy got the boot. Yeah, that might be what he means. That might be what he means. I would hope that he would maybe at least expand on this, but let's see. There's going to be some more of this.
As leader of the council. And this will allow us now to proceed with the other business of the day.
And then I think there's another part to this.
Right. We shall take a couple of minutes adjournment while the room clears. To order now, and we shall move on with the agenda.
Oh no,
Councillor Condicourt.
Chair, I don't know if it's allowed under the rules if we have legal advice. Can I have a vote of no confidence in the administration, please?
So, okay, I didn't know that had happened. Someone just called for a vote of no confidence. Probably not going to pass. Probably not going to pass. But it's probably not going to happen. Or that would be so fun to happen if that had happened. But yeah, that would have been fun if this had happened. But of course, there is no way the chair is going to let a call for vote no confidence be passed. Let's see what the response to that was.
I'd like to second that if possible.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Going down with the Titanic, you will, Keith.
We'll have order.
Oh wow, that was something. That was certainly something there. Going down with the Titanic. Going down with the Titanic. And who says council meetings can't be fun to watch? Yeah. So let's see how this proceeds, because it does seem very, very much so that everyone is not happy with the chair.
Thank you, Councillor Condigo, but it's not anything that we can do to help you, I'm afraid. But thank you for second as well. That was rather amusing start. We shall move on. Thank you. With item 3 in the agenda, that's additions to the education.
Yeah, he's just moved on. Which again, as a chair, he has a right to do. Unfortunately, he didn't take it seriously, even though there was a first and a seconder. Well, technically, if I'd been in that room, what I would have called for a vote on that motion, because you've got a first, you've got a proposer, you've got a seconder. At that point, if the chair had moved on, you could come out and ask for a point of order, saying that, I'm sorry, chair, a vote of the confidence in the administration has been called. You have a proposer, you have a seconder. It should be put to a vote. That's what should have happened. Now, bear in mind, I am not 100% sure on what their constitution states. I am not 100% sure on what the Warwickshire County Council constitution would state, but the fact that the chair has just basically just moved on, no one's raising any objections or anything like that, pretty much seems to me that, yeah, the chair can just ignore that vote being brought to the floor. But I'll tell you now, if I was in the room, I would be pushing for that vote to happen.
Capital Programme 2025-26, and I would like to invite Councillor Wayne Briggs to move the recommendation as circulated in the report. Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I feel a bit like I'm following Queen at Live Aid here, but here goes. So I was going to thank the public speakers. They've obviously gone, so I suggest whoever reads the report afterwards maybe does that. And I'd also like to say thank you quickly to the public gallery for engaging in our democratic process. Right, so good morning, council members. The report I put in front of you today recommends to council the addition of 2.96 million to the Education Capital Programme to continue to deliver an expansion scheme at the Queen Elizabeth Academy in Atherstone.
Right.
The total budget cost.
So at this point, Councillor Finch has been elected. At this point. Good evening, One Angry Pagan. Good evening. Good evening to everyone else joining us. By the way, we've just witnessed Reform voting in a 19-year-old to run a multi-million-pound council. Beyond their head be it. They've put him in. So it's all down to them now if all starts to go wrong, which, oh boy, it'll start to go wrong. So let's jump. Let's jump to this appointment of political assistance, because this is the other
Today is the appointment of political.
This is the other big thing that you've seen brought up recently, because you've got a 19-year-old in charge of your local council who has turned around and said, these council officers are not imaginative enough. I need outside assistance. I want to bring in a political assistance, which is going to cost the council an extra 190k a year. To which, remember, Reform UK ran on, we're going to be cutting waste, fraud and abuse and frivolous spending. So let's see how this goes, shall we? Let's see how this goes down.
Assistance. Again, I'm going to remind everyone that we have a 5-minute limit on speeches, and I'm going to invite Councillor Mike Bannister to move the recommendation as circulated in the report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, there's been a lot of speculation on this issue. It's been in the press, a lot of hyperbole, and I hope today to put that right. And moving the motion before us regarding the appointment of political assistants. Now, you've got this in your papers, and that's at 43 to 58. I've got a feeling it's been thoroughly read and read again. This is something that comes under Section 9 of the Local Government and Housing Act of 1989. This is not something the Reform have dreamt up. This is something that's been on the statute book since 1989. And that shows us that it's gone through Parliament. It shows us that it's been scrutinised by the House of Lords. And it's also fair to say at this stage that that was during the time of the Conservative Party's administration.
So how on earth does all that still justify this council spending 190k extra a year on 3 positions to basically help Councillor Finch come up with ideas? Because I guarantee you now, Finch will be turning around in maybe a couple of months, maybe if this goes through, maybe if they, all 3 political groupings, because this is something that hasn't been brought up, all 3 political groupings have to then agree that they are going to accept this political assistant. If one party, which would be the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives, turn around and say, yeah, we're not going to have one, Reform can't have one either. So that will be interesting to see them stop that. But let's continue with his wild justification for this.
This is not a party political proposal.
It absolutely is.
This proposal is simple, lawful, and above all, fair for all parties. It seeks to authorise the creation of 3, if we could have a bit of order over there, 3 politically restricted posts, 1 each for the Reform, the Liberal Democrats, and the Conservatives, in accordance with the legislation. The total cost would be in the order of £151,000 and change, not £200,000, not £500,000, not those figures that you've seen in the press. And these posts are on a fixed term contract, which fits in with the electoral cycle. And therefore the arrangements can be changed as things change themselves.
Still doesn't excuse spending that amount of money.
There is precedent. We are not alone. Across the country, forward-thinking councils of all political colours already employ political assistants to support the proper functioning of the group. In Gloucestershire County Council, for example, a reform...
Oh, yes, we've got all these other political assistants. We've got all these other councils have political assistants. We should have political assistants as well. Why do you need political assistance when the council already provides you people in the council employed to help people like Finch? But oh no, that's wait, those people aren't creative enough. They're not imaginative enough. So I need to hire support for me. And oh no, is this true? Oh no. No, not Ozzy. Oh well, he wasn't well to be honest, but oh no. Oh no. That's sad. Oh, that is very sad. Oh, you've brought down. Oh, that's sad. That's very sad. But oh well. Let's lighten the mood. Let's lighten the mood more by laughing more at reform.
Reform-led Alliance has introduced 3 political assistants, one each for Reform, the Liberal Democrats and the Green groups. This model reflects exactly what we are proposing here today. Equal access for qualifying groups in a politically diverse environment. Further afield in Milton Keynes City Council, where no single party has overall control, they've appointed political assistants to Labour and Conservative groups. In the North East, South Tyneside Metro Council employs 2 political assistants, one for the Labour, one for the Greens. In East Anglia, Norwich City has provided an assistant to the Labour group, while Wokingham Borough Council in Berkshire has done the same, helping Labour members contribute effectively in what is otherwise a complex coalition-led authority. Suffolk County Council, led by the Conservatives, has an assistant. Wokingham Borough Council in Berkshire has done the same, helping Labour members. Suffolk County Council. In London, all of the boroughs.
Remember, one of the reasons why they are trying to desperately justify this is that if you read the report, it actually says there is no money. They don't know where they're going to get this money from to fund this. So this is insane. This is insane that you would be proposing this now. Oh yeah, we need these political assistants. Why do you need these political assistants? The council already employs people to do that. But remember, this guy here, this child with the weird haircut, says that those people just aren't imaginative enough. So he can say, oh, but other councils have them. And this grouping was elected on we're not going to have wasteful council spending. This seems to be the most wasteful thing you could do. And most people on the council that have responded to this have said, yeah, this is wasteful. You could put this money on frontline services. It would be far better spent there. Yeah. Unfunded spending. What could possibly go wrong? Exactly. Exactly. What could possibly go wrong?
Have political assistance. And of course, in Parliament, they have SPADs, Special Parliamentary Advisors, who in just the same way provide a service to ministers and MPs in a partisan and provide them policy support, which is distinct from the civil service. These examples show that this isn't a radical.
Here's the thing. Yes, you can go out and hire a special advisor if you are a minister. However, there's the civil service. There is the civil service. You could go to the civil service and ask them those very same questions and get them to provide the very same support as a special advisor could. Now, I don't have a problem with members of parliament going to get a special advisor. Sometimes you will need to bring in a special advisor. A member of parliament is not going to be an expert in everything. If David Lammy, for example, let's say, with everything that's going on in Syria, he needs to bring in someone who is an expert in what is exactly going on in Syria, all the different groups, all the different, factions, inter-rivalries that's going on in Syria, because as Foreign Secretary, he needs to know what's going on in Syria. I am perfectly fine with David Lammy hiring a special advisor. That would be perfectly fine for me. The problem is that this guy, Councillor Finch, is putting forward this amendment because he is claiming that the people he has been asking, we don't know what questions, are just not imaginative enough. Why aren't they imaginative enough? What have you been asking them? What have they been saying to you? What recommendations? Where's the evidence that they aren't imaginative enough?
Cool. Or unprecedented proposal. Councils of all types, unitary, borough, county and metro, are already doing this. They've recognised that having political assistance doesn't just benefit the groups they serve, it enhances the council as a whole by enabling better policy work, more thoughtful debate and more effective scrutiny.
No evidence that happens at all, by the way. No evidence that that is a thing at all. At all. And to answer your question, Vince, will the reform advisor be someone handpicked by Nigel? I'm not sure. I am not sure how this hiring process is actually going to be done. I don't know if the council are in charge of it. I don't know whether it is like the reform or get like the final say who they want. So it could be someone that is end up handpicked by Nigel. I don't know. We'll see, I'm sure, in the fullness of time, because as I said at the beginning of this council now is going to be absolutely laser focused on by just about every single media outlet out there you can imagine.
Thirdly, the principle is one of parity and professionalism. If we want a council that is informed, constructive and able to challenge itself intelligently, then we must give all substantial groups the capacity to do that well.
That's a councillor's job. That's what a councillor is elected to do. Does this guy not think that maybe these reform people need to get up to speed about how the council works, what they are doing, the job that they are running for? Maybe if they don't know, maybe they should learn. Like, what? He's basically just described what he has been elected to do. And now he wants to waste all this money on paying someone to do the job he was elected to do.
That means giving them access to professional political support, not to make speeches or run campaigns, but to help them work smarter in this chamber, in their committees and behind the scenes. In my view, this is a sound investment in democracy. And I would say, frankly, that the value for money is evident when measured against many other things councils are often asked to fund and do fund. Finally, this reflects the values and ethics of reform. We believe in competent, streamlined governance. We believe in fairness, transparency, and accountability. And we believe that...
And that's what he's elected to do. That is the councillor's responsibility. And now you want to pay someone to do your job. What do these people think they were elected to do?
Councillors, whatever their party, should have the tools they need to do the job properly. This is what this motion provides for. And I ask members to support the establishment of political assistance and agree the recommendations set out in this report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bannister. You obviously timed that one very nicely. And may I ask for a seconder, please?
I second the motion and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Reserved. Any proposed amendments? No? Then we shall move forward to Councillor Edwards.
If I went to my boss and told him that I wanted £50,000 for an assistant, my boss would want significantly more than just they will help me make good decisions. They'd want exactly how much value, pound for pound, is going to be delivered for that investment. Because this is an investment in somebody. You can't just hire them and then get rid of them later. I haven't heard from this exactly what they would be doing on a day-to-day basis. And once again, on this,
yep, he's right.
If I went and said, everybody else has got one, that does not make it a sound financial decision.
Yep,
sound
right.
Financial decisions are based on numbers, not the herd. So what would they be doing every single day? And how many pounds of value would they deliver for that 50K?
Thank you very much. Councillor Boat.
Let's hear the response.
Please.
Thank you, Chair. One thing that Councillor Bannister, I thank Councillor Bannister for his very measured proposal speech. One thing that Councillor Bannister didn't mention, I don't think, unless I missed it, was that we used to have political assistants here a long time ago. I think lots of councils brought them in when they first were around. But as the cuts started, so those posts were lost because they could not be justified. It's very hard to justify spending 150,000 on political assistance when our social services, our SEND services, and etc. are having to make cuts.
Yep.
I think that's very, very hard. Interestingly, this proposal comes only a couple of weeks after the Reform Cabinet unanimously accept the principles set out in the Council's medium-term financial plan, which included the assertion that it would be necessary to set a very high bar for new permanent budget allocations. As I said in my speech proposing Councillor Roothouse, the only two things we've seen Reform do since May the 1st, or perhaps since May the 16th, is make a silly fuss about flags, which went nowhere, and to propose political assistance. We've seen nothing else. Now, a lot's been said about your manifesto. Now, this leaflet was put out in my division in May. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may have not. It was a Warwick District leaflet. Councillor Finch assures me that this has absolutely no value or meaning at all because it wasn't a Warwickshire reform leaflet. And yet many residents in my area voted for reform on the basis of what was in this document. And nowhere does it mention political assistance. It talks about free parking in Warwick and Leamington town centres. 2 hours. So we're looking forward to that one. Residents are really looking forward to that one. So perhaps when Councillor Finch sums up on this, he might tell us when that's going to happen. But of course, Councillor Finch has already told me this leaflet is meaningless because it wasn't a reform leaflet. And say no mention of political assistance.
Oh, wow. Big issue. Local parking. Oh boy. If you want to kick a hornet's nest at a local council, bring up the cost of car parking. This is something that a lot of councils do, and that helps fund a lot of these councils. Right? It helps fund a lot of these councils. The fact that they get all this money from car parking. And the fact that Reform put out in a leaflet, oh yeah, here's 2 hours free parking in the town centre. That is going to upset the budget for Warwickshire County Council. That is going to be massively so. Exactly, Vince. Yeah, residents want free parking, but that money, of course, goes to services. Trade-off for time. Exactly. These are like the important decisions you have to make at a political level. You could have free parking, but that might mean you now have less money for services elsewhere. Be it for bin collection, adult care, child social care, street sweeping. They might not suddenly have the money for that budget because they've done this.
Now I have here the press statement that Councillor Finch made to the press. Interestingly, Councillor Finch doesn't like to speak to the press. He sends out press releases. And Councillor Finch
Can't
said
speak to the press.
we can begin to work more effectively to bring about the change we have mandate for. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. For too long, Warwickshire County Council has remained entrenched in its views about how we should govern. Those views have yielded poor results. For years, the council administration has relied on the corporate policy team to come up with innovative ideas required to shepherd Warwickshire through the crisis we face. We found this team to be unable to bring about the change we were elected for.
Yeah, I'm glad
we need a fresh, bold approach to policy creation in Warwickshire. Establishing the political assistant roles will equip the three main political groups with the tools required to find innovative solutions. Now, I'm not sure what innovative solutions Councillor Finch thinks is going to come forward from probably a graduate, because that was what we had before. They tended to be young graduates, perhaps a year, 2 years out of university, not paid very much. And dare I suggest, if our esteemed senior leadership here and the policy unit that already exists cannot find easy solutions to these proposals, dare I say, I doubt very much if a graduate level employment job will be able to do the same.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Perhaps you have somebody in mind, Councillor Finch, I don't know. But I see no possibility that somebody coming in is suddenly going to be able to solve the problems of the world, which is what you suggest in this press release. I mean, how insulting, the comments about the definition of insanity. I don't know what even made you even think to write those words down, because I think that's insulting to the staff who provide an excellent service here, trying to find problems to very difficult issues. I'm a school governor, and I've said it several times at my school, and I said it again last week. The issues of SEND are at government level. Warwickshire cannot solve SEND on its own. It's a government issue. The Labour government have to solve the SEND crisis, the statutory override, etc., etc. These are not things that we can suddenly, in a situation where we have literally, or we nearly owe more money than we've got in reserves. We can't solve that. The government need to solve that. We will be voting against these proposals. We would much rather, as Councillor Roothouse said, we'd much rather see this money spent on family workers or more social workers. I'm glad to see the chair is nodding along. I'm glad to see you agree with what I'm saying, because it makes sense, doesn't it? Why would you put in people to duplicate the work that we already have going on here when you could actually spend that money? That is not available. This money is not available. There is no money to do this. Money would need to be found. So perhaps that Councillor Finch could also tell us,
God, I can't wait for his response on
where
this.
he proposes to find 151,000 that's just hanging about, sitting on a shelf, perhaps in a deposit account that no one's told us about. I don't think so. The scrutiny of this budget has been going on for years as the cuts come relentlessly year after year. And I suspect they will carry on under a Labour government in the same we had them under a Tory government. And dare I say, under a coalition government as well. So there's lots of questions here, Councillor Finch. You've been reminded that we have a policy unit here. You've been reminded that there's now a reform office at the LGA, which will have staff. Certainly the Lib Dem LGA office does research on stuff. So you could be looking there for your support. I'm going to stop now because I've been told I've run out of time. So we will be opposing this, I think, rather silly motion.
Very good point.
We have not got the money. And if we did, we'd spend it on something much more sensible.
Yeah, exactly. Councils do not have the money. That is the sad fact. Councils have borne the brunt of austerity. That is the reality. They've been told continuously for years, do more with less. And with ever increasingly less resources. How can you, as Reform, come in and just say, I want to spend 190k extra a year on these people? That is unjustifiable. Unjustifiable, especially given the fact that, oh yeah, we've got to have a really high bar for passing any more permanent spending. This doesn't even pass their own high bar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bode. We allowed an extra minute of on time there to help you complete your point. Councillor Drew, please. Yes. Councillor.
Yes, thank you. And again, I'm going to sound like a stuck record, echoing Councillor Bode. Further clarification as to how these posts will be funded would be really welcome.
Well, it's going on for a while, this.
You're clear, as Councillor Bode says, that there's no, to quote, no current budgetary provision, and that the Executive Director for Resources.
Right, I'll tell you what. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Darren. Thank you very much for that £10. Thank you very much indeed. I've got to go, unfortunately. I've got my own meeting to chair in like the next 10 minutes. The trials of being an IPP, I'm afraid, immediate past president. So yeah, I didn't know how long this went on. So tell you what, we will pause here and we will come back tomorrow evening and we will pick this up. We will go through this absolute continuing ridiculousness of trying to appoint political assistants. This is, again, I think, very much worth going over because, again, it just goes to show you how bad Reform are at this. And I really want to go over this. But thank you very much for the super chat there, Darren. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone else for joining me. Like I say, unfortunately, I've got my own meeting to attend and, well, not chair, but I'm going to be at constitutionally. So I will be, like I say, we will return tomorrow. We will pick up where we left off. And we'll find out, because it does look like there is a little bit of back and forth between Councillor Finch and Councillor Roadhouse at one point, looking at that list. So we'll look forward to that. And of course, we'll see you all tomorrow. So until then, we'll see you all very soon.